If your promise from your product is that it's going to help people achieve a certain outcome, whether it's skincare, whether it's health, whether it's whatever it is, people know what that outcome is. But the question everyone's asking subconsciously is what will happen on the journey? And that's the part, my friend, that most people miss on social media. They're not talking about the middle. They're talking about the end. This is why a lot of people wait till they get the result before they start posting. Well, hello there and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hine, and if you want to use social media to reach more of your dream customers, to grow your business, to be able to achieve the goals that you have, whether that is lifestyle goals, financial goals, or whether or not it's simply that you want to have an impact on other people's lives, whatever your reason is, I'm here to help you, to serve you, and to provide value to help you do this in a way that takes you less time, is less stressful, and gets you better results. I've been working in social media, marketing, and direct selling for the last 25 years. And a few weeks ago, I recorded a podcast episode where I talked about some of the teachings that have been out there over the recent years that I believe are steering people in the wrong direction. Today, I want to keep building on that. Because what I talked about in that episode was that there are two different groups of people out there on social media. You've got the influencer creator group, and then you've got the business builder group. Both groups are valid, both use social media, both need to grow their businesses, but both have two different strategies that will work. Today, I want to speak more into how do you turn your social media content into meaningful conversations that convert into business. This is the key to business building on social media. This is not about getting more eyes on posts, being more popular, being more entertaining. This is simply about getting better results. And today I want to unpack a simple strategy that I think is going to help you today to do this no matter where you're at, whether you're brand new to social media, whether you've been in this business for a long time, or whether you're just starting out. So grab your pen and paper, because I'm going to leave you with some strategies that you're going to be able to walk away and use straight away that not only are relevant right now, but these are tried, tested, and proven strategies that I am absolutely certain will get you results if, my friend, you put them in place. So let's get stuck in. So today I want to talk to you about how do you take your content, your posts, and turn them into real conversations that convert. This is about content that converts. Now, what do I mean by that when I say that? Here's the thing you've got to keep in mind. In the previous episode that I spoke into this, and I really encourage you to go back and check that one out. If you haven't yet, we'll put it in the show notes so you can. If you haven't, don't worry, you can start right here. I will still cover off on it. But what I want you to understand about this is that there are two clear groups of people. You've got the group of people on social media who generally make their income from exposure. These are what we call the content influencers. These are the people who need more eyes on content. These are the people that grow huge followings, who entertain, they create incredible content that gets people's attention. But there's one problem with this, because their aim, their objective, their goal is to get eyes on posts. Now, if you are in the other camp and you're a business builder, your goal is not eyes on posts. It's you need to turn the eyes on posts to business. So what's the difference, and how do you create a strategy that's going to get you a result that suits you? Now, I am not the trainer that's going to suit the influencer creator strategy. Here's why. Because my background is in marketing, my background is in conversion, my background is human-to-human connection and sales. That's what I specialize in, it's what I'm trained in, it's what I'm passionate about. It's a very different strategy to entertaining. And so I want to be very clear about that something. There are two lots of training out there right now. There's the one that says, here's how you get lots of eyes. And that's great. There is validity to that. But if you're someone who's not aiming at being an influencer and you really do simply need to convert people in your business to sales, to team, and that means you don't need to have 1,000 conversations a week, you might need 3, then I'm here to teach you how to do that, because that particular strategy takes a different skill set altogether. So let's come over there for a little moment, because that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, first of all, one thing you've got to keep in mind here is less is definitely more in 2026. Facebook and Instagram have made it abundantly clear that they are not rewarding people on how much content they create, but rather what they're creating. So I'm not saying you don't still have to create content that people are interested in. That is not for a moment what I'm suggesting. But there is strategy behind it, because it's one thing for people to go, oh, that was interesting, I liked looking at that, and moving on. And it's very different when that person looks at it and goes, oh, I want to know more, or I want to connect with that person, or I'm going to just save that in the back of my mind for later because that could be useful for me, or a piece of value that has people interacting and connecting with you. That's a very different skill set, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So first thing I've said is it's not about more. 3 to 5 good quality pieces of content a week for someone who wants to convert is really all that needs to be created. Now, once you work out how to get the attention of your dream customer, absolutely, pump more content out. You can do more, because once you've worked the formula out to get people's attention, you can multiply that. But I want to just quickly tell you about a story I shared on this podcast a little while ago. I learned this lesson the hard way back in 2022 when I put a post up. It was a reel, actually, that I'd recorded at home of my kids catching a spider. Now, if you're in Australia, you know that huntsman spiders are the ugliest, scariest, most harmless spider of all the spiders in the world. They don't do anything. I know they do bite. I have had an experience with that, but they rarely bite. And in Australia, they are the ugliest, scariest things. Sorry to the huntsman spiders out there listening to this podcast episode, but they really are unattractive spiders. Now, when someone comes to Australia and they see one of these things, they freak out. But all Australians know they're really not that big a deal. Now, I don't care that they're harmless. I've got a massive fear of the things. I can't stand them. They scare me. I feel like they sneak up on me. They find me wherever I am, and they're lurking in the corners, right? And there's one particular day, I've just turned everyone away from coming to Australia, I fear, that was thinking about it. There are lots of good things about this country too, aside from the snakes, spiders, and bugs. But this particular day, let's get back to the story. Heading out the door, had all of the kids, and a giant huntsman spider about the size of my hand was on the wall right by the doorway. And I was like, I cannot leave my house. And my boys, who are, the bravado comes on, and, they've seen Greg before get the huntsman with his weapon of choice, which is a big manly vacuum cleaner. The kids decided, because Greg wasn't there that particular day, he'd already left, they were like, right, we're going to help mum. We're going to save mum's life. And they pull the vacuum cleaner out and they go to suck the spider up. Now, I will just say that when I put this post up, the amount of people I got that got really angry about the cruelty of what we were doing blew my mind, by the way. So don't get judgy on me right now. The story has a purpose. So the boys go to suck the spider up, and the spider moves one leg. And they freak out. They drop the vacuum cleaner and they run. Now, I have been recording this entire thing, thankfully, because it was hilarious. And I posted it up on Instagram. Just a reel. It had no editing done. I just plonked it up there and went about my day. Now, a week later, I am about to get on stage to speak at a Tupperware event, and I get a little ding on my phone, and I've had a comment on Instagram, and I realize it's one of hundreds. I've been in the air flying, and I'd missed them all. And I looked at this post, and I went, oh, it's had, 1.1K views. And then I realized I'd read it wrong. It had had 1.1 million views over the last few days. This post had literally gone viral. Now, for a little moment, I got super excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I've cracked the code. I've figured it out. This is amazing. I'm going to get all this business. This is awesome. This is what every trainer tells people to do. Create videos that get millions of views, right? Well, wrong. Yes, trainers teach you to do that. But this was one of those moments that led me to the realization that there are two very different strategies out there. Because if my job was to get as many eyes on content as possible, and I didn't care about the conversion of what people did with that content, then yes, that was a brilliant strategy. But that's not what I was here to do. And it wasn't what I was teaching others to do either. And I had a little bit of a look at what this post was actually doing. Yes, I had a huge amount of naysayers. I had a bunch of people that had some very negative comments, which I had to make the choice to completely ignore. Otherwise, it would have really got to me. But the bottom line was this: I didn't gain many followers. I didn't gain any new members. I didn't get any new speaking engagements. Did this turn into business for me? In no way. In fact, it probably did the opposite because it attracted a lot of the wrong people to my Instagram page. Now, I want to be very clear about something here. Views are not necessarily a positive when you need conversion. I have seen student after student after student come to me who's got a huge following on a platform that they've spent silly amounts of time growing that's not turning into anything. I have this conversation on almost a weekly basis with a leader in the direct selling industry who says, I've got all these followers, but no one is buying, no one is joining. What's wrong? And the problem here is that a lot of them have spent all of this time focusing on getting likes and views and reach, and those are the wrong numbers to be chasing. And what can happen is you've got to then re-steer the ship. You have to spend all this time going, who do I actually want to attract? And then you're essentially having to reprogram that platform's algorithm to start delivering your content to a completely different group of people. Sometimes putting hard work into reach when that's the wrong number for your business can actually be a huge negative and can cost you a lot of time down the track. So be certain if you're wanting to get reach that you are in fact reaching the right people. So that's the first thing to keep in mind here. This particular video was a little one-shot reminder to me that views are not an important number unless you are an influencer and a creator and you're getting paid on that number. Before we jump back into the episode, I want to quickly share with you a tool that I created just for you. If you've been feeling a bit like social media feels super overwhelming, I don't know what to do next, and I'm just sick of overthinking it and throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks. If that feels a little bit like you right now and you aren't getting the results that you want, that's exactly why I wrote my book, Show Up Anyway. Show Up Anyway is a really simple read. I wanted to make this fast and implementable. You'll be able to read it in 1 or 2 quick sittings, but most importantly, every chapter has an action step at the end of it and a process you can follow to get the results that you've been hoping for. So if that sounds a little bit like you can go to the show notes, you can grab a copy there, or of course you can jump onto Amazon and order your copy. It's available in Kindle, it's available as a paperback, and now also in Audible in certain regions. All right, let's get back into the episode. So what do? So here's the thing I want to keep in mind. Less is more. Less content, greater reach to the right people, very important, which means you don't need to spend more time on the platforms to get great results. So hone your energy in. If you've got 2 hours a week that you can invest in your social media strategy, spend that time on 3 to 5 great quality posts that are going to follow the process I'm about to give you, rather than splattergunning the platforms with content that is just funny and entertaining for the sake of it. So the second thing I want to bring to your attention is something I've talked about a lot on this podcast and a lot in my online trainings, and that is conversation loops. The platforms are favoring conversation loops, which essentially means any content or any user that creates content that leads to a private conversation is going to get favored over somebody who simply plonks content out there and never interacts with people. In other words, Facebook and Instagram are saying the more social you are, the more we will reward you. This is great news because if you're growing a business, you naturally want to have conversations with people, which means the very thing that you want is also going to reward you in the long run as well. So brilliant news. So how do you get to conversations? Well, I'm glad you asked because that's what I want to talk about now. And this is where I want to encourage you to reverse engineer this process. Think about it this way. Marketers don't start with the post. My training comes from a marketing and psychology training in how to reach your ideal customer to get them to do the thing you want them to do. But the way you get them to do it is the last thing you think about. So let's go back a few steps here. if you've got a campaign in mind, so any company that wants to market anything, whether that's a product, an event, a service, whatever, they start with, what do I want to happen? So let's just say the thing that you want to happen is, I want people to buy my skincare cream, right? That's a straight out product that many of you listening to this podcast are wanting to sell. So let's say you've got a brand new skincare cream that you're wanting to promote. You don't start with, what post am I going to put out there, if you're a good marketer and you've been through any form of training. You start with, what's the objective? The objective is, I want people to make a buying decision. I want them to click on my link to buy the product. So let's then reverse engineer this process. The second part to that process is, what conversations do we need people to have? So it's not about people simply seeing your product and clicking on it. And this is where I think a lot of people get confused. They're like, well, I put my product out there, or I told people about the business opportunity and they didn't click and buy. They didn't click and buy because there was no middle process. So a marketing campaign has to take people on a bit of a journey. Now, one thing that we know about that journey is, you also need to be exposed to people 8 to 12 times before they even open their eyes to that product. Now, this is how the brain works. So think about the songs that have become hooked in your brain, those earworms that you have. Do you know, I was listening to the radio recently. I don't listen to it all that often anymore, but I put it on and I realized something. There was a song that came on and I started kind of singing to it. And as I was singing to it, I went, I don't think I've actually properly listened to this song before. And then I realized something. I had subconsciously heard that song probably, I don't know, half a dozen times over the last few weeks, in shops that I'd walked into, or, you know, in someone's car, or, you know, walking past someone's office, or wherever it might have been. I'd subconsciously heard that song. I hadn't consciously registered that I'd heard it yet, but I'd subconsciously listened to it. So when it came up on the radio, I immediately started bopping along to the song. And that was the point where the song became conscious in my brain. That was the point where I actually stopped and paid attention and went, oh, I know this song. I want to remember this song. This is a good song. But it wasn't the first time I'd heard it. Now, it goes this way with products, with brands, with business opportunities. People don't typically buy or making a buying decision the first time they're exposed, which means we need to remember that the no or not now is a natural part of that process. I've recorded an episode with Samantha Ballard from Pomofera, and one of the things that she spoke about was the no, and the importance of reminding people that there is an opportunity there, or that the product is there, without being so direct that they feel that they're confronted with the need to say no, but that you get them thinking. So a simple line to somebody like, hey, have you ever thought about having a business a bit like this, is a lot less confrontational than, would you like to join the business? Now, the beauty of a conversation like that, especially through social media, is, while you probably will get a, oh, no, I've never thought about doing that, the first time you ask, what's actually happening is you're starting a thinking process. So I want to talk about that as we reverse engineer our content. So rather than starting with what you want to post, you want to start with, what do I want to achieve? So step 1 to this process here is this: what is my objective? Start with the end in mind. What do I want to achieve with my social media content? Do I want to generate leads for people that are interested in starting a side hustle, a business, to earn some extra income? Do I want to get people to buy my skincare products? Do I want to educate people? Do I want to get contact with people that might have an in-home party or event? Like, what is the objective that you're wanting here? By the way, the objective may simply be that you want to connect and network with more people so that you can bring them into your sphere of influence to have more conversations in the long run. The objective doesn't need to be to sell. That's not a bad objective, but it's not always the key objective. You may simply want to educate. Whatever your objective is, start with that in mind. And then the next step from there is, what conversations do I need to have in order to achieve that objective? So if the conversation needs to be, hey, would you like to earn a little bit of extra income on the side? We then go back another step and say, okay, so what will I post that is going to lead to those conversations? And I want you to think about the conversations you have in person. So going back and thinking about other people that may have joined your team, or if you haven't got people in your team yet, what were the conversations that you had when you joined the business? What were the things that piqued your interest? Was it that somebody mentioned to you that they paid for a holiday through the business that they're building? Was it that they talked about the fun they had at convention and you're like, hey, I'd love more fun like that in my life? What were the things that led your ears to prick up? Now, this is why it is so important that your content on social media is constantly sharing the journey. Don't just talk about the outcomes, talk about the journey. The middle is so critically important. People know what the promise is, okay? They know where they're at, so they know where they're beginning, but they also know what the end result could be because they hear people talking about it all the time. They're hearing people talking about, I've, earned all this income and I've got this incredible lifestyle. By the way, half that is not compliant on social media, so please be careful about what you say. Income claims are not okay. But simple things like, I changed my life by being in this business. I've got freedom and flexibility. I can be at home with my kids and earn an income and blah, blah, blah. That's all great. But that's not what people listen to typically when it comes to that buying decision. That's the part where the ears start to prick up. But the part that typically has people going, I'm leaning in now and I want to know more, is the middle. And this goes for product too, by the way. So if your promise from your product is that it's going to help people achieve a certain outcome, whether it's skincare, whether it's health, whether it's whatever it is, people know what that outcome is. But the question everyone's asking subconsciously is what will happen on the journey? And that's the part, my friend, that most people miss on social media. They're not talking about the middle. They're talking about the end. This is why a lot of people wait till they get the result before they start posting. And that's not the part that has people leaning in. Because I, like you, want to know if I start taking that product, what's it going to look like? Is it going to be a straight upward journey? Is it going to be a bit of a roller coaster? Am I going to have, benefits and then maybe I go backwards for a little bit? Or if I do the business, is it going to be, what does that look like? What's the real journey truly look like? So when you stop and ask yourself what's really going on in someone's mind, it allows you to create content that's relevant and has people leaning in on a real human, relatable level. So, objective, what do you want to achieve? What do you want people to do in the end? You want them to sign up? You want them to buy your product? What is it you want them to do? You want them to come to your event? What do you want them to do? Second thing is, what conversations do you need to start for people to go down that journey? Knowing that the conversation won't always immediately lead to the sale or the signing up of somebody. It in itself is a journey. It takes time. And some people could take weeks, months, even years before they make a decision, but you have to start somewhere. So what conversations do you need to start that lead to that point? And then from there, what posts could I create that will start that conversation? Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you some ideas here just to kind of spark some inspiration here. But I want you to think as well, like I said earlier, about where you made that decision, whether it's for the product that you have or the business that you're in. What was it that sparked your interest? What are some of the posts that people put out there that have you leaning in for similar products even? Use the inspiration from that and go, what has me leaning in and going, I want to know a bit more. I want to click on that. I want to read a little bit further. I want to check that person out. What sorts of posts get your attention? I'm going to tell you right now what some of those are. The first one is curiosity-driven content. Statements that make people curious. So this could be a statement that debunks a myth. It could be a statement that gives a piece of information that might be, I want to be careful saying controversial, but seemingly controversial. It may have the appearance of being controversial. So let me give you an example here. Brian Fryer on the podcast talked about this, loved his example here, but he used to sell chemical-free, if I get this right from memory, chemical-free cleaning products, I think it was, back when he was in the field. And he said that one of the most successful posts he ever created was a post where he built curiosity by saying the number one selling washing powder in the US contains more nasty chemicals than any other product on the shelves or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly what he said. You'd have to listen to that episode to get the exact wording. But the point is he made a statement, but he didn't name the product. So he wasn't going down that road. But what he was doing was building curiosity, knowing what conversation he needed to start. So the conversation needed to be about chemical-free cleaning products. And so to start that conversation, he put a statement out there that built curiosity and got attention. Now, that statement could be debunking a myth, like I said. It could be something that makes a statement that has people leaning in going, whoa, I didn't know that. Tell me more. Or the statement could be educating people about something that you know, such as, going along those same lines. It might be, did you know that XYZ product does XYZ? And it could be an ingredient that's in many products out there that people just don't know what it is and what it does. So a curiosity building statement is one way you could start conversations. Think about the health challenges that you want to have conversations with people about, or again, financial conversations you want to have. So you could create a curiosity building statement. The next one is an opinion-based statement. Now, this could be you stating an opinion, but I'm more so leaning towards asking for opinions. Now, little secret here, people love to give their opinion. They love to tell you what they think. So asking people's opinion on something that is the beginning of that conversation you want to have is a brilliant way to get people leaning in and opening up and saying, hey, I'm here. And the beauty of posts like this is literally it gets your dream customer waving their hand in the air going, hey, I'm watching your stuff, I'm here, and starting that conversation. So this is where your posts go from just pretty and interesting to actually doing something for you. So opinion-based content, asking a question where you're asking for an opinion is awesome. The next one that I love is value-based content. Now, this can be done in two different ways. My favorite way of doing this is with a lead magnet, but value-driven content could also be simply providing value. So, here is something that's going to be of benefit to people who are interested in being my people. So, identifying what they care about, identifying what those conversations are that you want to have with people, and then sharing a piece of value in that space. That has people leaning in far more than, hey, everybody, buy my stuff. Now, a lead magnet is the two-step post. We've talked about that on this podcast many a time. Go check out some of those episodes. That is a very, very powerful tool to use where you're essentially saying, here's a piece of value. If you want it, just let me know. And you dangle that carrot and wait for the interaction. It could be a recipe, it could be a cheat sheet, a how-to, a checklist. There's so many different ways you could create a great quality lead magnet. Again, we've done so many episodes on that, so go check one of those out. The next one and the last one I want to mention to you is the easiest one to do, and that is an engagement post. That is asking a question. And again, there is a never-ending list of great quality engagement questions you could create that will get you a great result here. And as part of this episode, as my little gift to you, I'd actually like to dangle my own lead magnet to show you how this process works. And I want to gift you a cheat sheet that's going to help you with this. So I think this cheat sheet's got like 100 engagement questions in there, but these engagement questions are all separated by the sort of thing you would want to get to know. So if you want to learn what the demographic is of people that are watching your page, if they've got any health concerns, their gender, these are all designed to start specific types of conversations. So we're going to put that in the show notes. You can click that link. You can grab that, download that cheat sheet. That'll be super helpful for you. But I just want to remind you of the importance of not posting for the sake of it and throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks. And also not feeling like you need to post more to get a result. I also don't want you chasing trends and entertaining people for the sake of it. That isn't going to grow a successful business. So reverse engineer what you're creating. What do you want the outcome to be? What conversations do you need to start? And then what type of posts are going to start those meaningful conversations? Now, in another episode, I'm going to do a part 3 to this where I'm actually going to talk to you about how to start those meaningful conversations. So that's coming up. But for now, I want to really encourage you. Lean in and ask yourself those questions and take some of that pressure off. Less is definitely more. 3 to 5 really great posts a week that start those conversations. Even if that gets you 3 meaningful conversations this week, is way more valuable than 1,000 eyes on your post that are never going to do anything with you. So it's about the one, not the many. Start those conversations, build your incredible business. You've got this. You know how to talk to humans. And remember, at the other end of that computer screen or mobile device is a human being, and you know how to connect and communicate with human beings. So let's not overcomplicate this. Let's just be human. Let's have those conversations and let's grow our businesses together. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you grab that lead magnet that I've just offered you. I'll put the link in the show notes for you so you can go click on that and grab that. But the main thing is have an incredible week. Go and do something off the back of this episode. Take some action, because knowledge isn't power. It is only potential power. It's what you do with that knowledge that gets you the true growth. So thanks for tuning in today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button or share this with a friend, and don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. We've got so many more incredible guests to come. We look forward to seeing you on here again next week. That's it from me. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode gave you more clarity, courage, or strategy to show up online, please make sure that you subscribe and follow so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And of course, share this message with someone else that might need to hear it. But that's it for us from now. We'll see you next week.